Hello and welcome to Filling the Sink, a podcast from Catalan News. My name is Lea Beliaeva, and today we're talking about the Barcelona International Community Day. If you're an avid Catalan News follower, you will know that the 11th edition of the Barcelona International Community Day took place last weekend at the Maritime Museum, just at the end of the famous Rambla boulevard. The city's international community enjoyed a one-day event filled with talks, workshops, networking activities, and so much more to help newcomers settle in Catalonia, find new work-related or business contacts or just friends, and get tips on how to enjoy Barcelona. This year, some 5,000 people attended, and of course, Catalan News was there as well. So on today's podcast, we will hear from some of the attendees about their experience with making the big move to Barcelona. And today, I'm joined by Gerard, Escaich, Folch. Welcome.
Hello, Lea. How are you?
I'm very good. How about you?
I'm very excited to talk about this podcast because we met a lot of fans.
Well, that sounds amazing. Let's hear how that went.
Well, we are here. Good morning, Lorcan. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well. Thanks, Gerard.
So we are here at the Maritime Museum in Barcelona.
It's great that everyone's kind of just getting ready now. The place is filling up. There's some drumming going on in the background you might be able to hear. It's a nice atmosphere, and I think everyone's just very excited to see how today's going to pan out.
So you arrived early in the morning, as I can hear, to set up the Catalan News stand. How did the day go?
Well, it was very good, very nice. We got to meet, as I mentioned, lots of fans, or lots of readers and followers, to be a little bit more precise.
Fans, readers, whatever works, right?
Exactly. And very nice. Around 5,000 people there. We also even had the Barcelona City Council mayor who came to visit, Jaume Sisa.
Wow, fancy.
And lots of people who knew us, lots of people who said, oh, we listen to your podcast, we love your content, thank you, it's helping us and follow current affairs, and people who still didn't know us, and probably they are listening to this podcast for the first time. So welcome to Filling the Sink.
Welcome to Filling the Sink. And one of the things that the two of you, Lorcan and you, did was to prepare a Catalan News quiz. And I have to admit that I took a sneak peek at it while you were preparing it. And some of these questions, they were really, really hard. So how did people do with this quiz during the fair? And most importantly, did anyone get all the 20 questions correct?
Well, it was very, very fun. People were so excited for the quiz, and no one got the 20 questions right. Unfortunately, I didn't go there because I was meeting up with people, but I already knew all the answers, so I would got my 20 points.
You would have won anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and so when meeting new people here in the city, I think a fun way to get a conversation going is to ask and tell the story about how they ended up here. And you asked people at the fair this question, so let's hear what they said.
11 years ago, we weren't sure we were going to stay. As a matter of fact, we thought we were here for an adventure for a year or two. But once we got here and discovered how wonderful the lifestyle is and the people and the ability to create community, we were pretty hooked pretty quickly.
I came and settled here because my wife wanted to. I had no expectations, and I only wish I encountered more English, both in writing and in people speaking.
It's a bit funny story because I was so impressed by the book of Carlos Ruiz Zafón about Barcelona, and I was like, I needed to come here. So my first time was immediate love, like the biggest love of my life. Well, after the years, of course, I see all flaws, but I still love Barcelona, and I think you have just to accept that nothing is perfect and it's chaotic, but it still has its vibe and it's beautiful.
We've always loved Spain in general, one of our favorite countries, but Barcelona is really special. For me, coming from the Philippines originally, it's easy, it's very close to the Philippine tradition, food, especially the weather. I mean, we're both from London, and Barcelona is our closest to paradise, I guess, to the weather. So that's the very first one that really attracts us to be here.
Before I came to Barcelona, I was gonna go for something a little bit more quieter. And then when I got here, this was between COVID. So when I got here, it was like, oh, okay, look at this. Like, there's not so many people. But then now, like, we go to Plaza Catalunya and it's like, wow, so many people.
I love hearing these stories about why people, they came to the city. But Gerard, I guess no one asked you this question.
Well, you're wrong, because every time, all my life, I've been asked, where am I from? Like, not from Barcelona. Or when I tell them, oh yeah, I'm from here, I'm a local, and they are like, really? You look very, very white, very pale. You look like from north of Europe. So yeah, I've been asked why and when I came to the city, even though it was almost 30 years ago, and because I was born here.
Exactly. And one thing that happens when you arrive here in the city is that reality hits you and you find, well, these cultural differences, something that is different from your country to this one. And I, for example, learned all about this terrible nightmare that I think everyone is familiar with, and that is getting a NIE. So getting a cita previa and then showing up with all the documentation, but you're not sure if you have the right one. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we did a podcast on that a while ago, and it's still one of the most listened to.
It is. And one thing that I also learned, a big cultural difference, is the fact that you can actually smile on your driver's license photo.
Where did you learn that?
So when I went to renew my driver's license, the photographer who took photos of me told me, after he had taken photos of me not smiling, he told me, well, why didn't you smile? You actually could. And I thought, that's one of the things that no one tells you, but actually you can do.
Well, he was wrong, because as in your home country, you cannot smile on your ID or driving license photo.
Okay.
So please do not smile, or if not, you will need to take another picture.
Okay, great to know. So I did everything right.
But he was wrong.
Okay. So one thing that I found really, really interesting about these interviews that you did was one specific cultural difference that shocked some of the people you talked to.
Yeah, it also shocked me in a positive way, on the other way around, when I was traveling or going places and it was Sunday and stores and grocery shops were open.
Exactly.
Welcome to Catalonia, where that doesn't happen.
I think the reality is slightly different, but I think it's a really great place to live. I'm really happy to stay here for the long term. I don't think I'm going anywhere else. I think one of the biggest expectations were that maybe grocery stores would be open on Sundays, but getting used to that is really different. So we plan our grocery shopping on Saturday to make sure we're good for Sunday and Monday.
Then when it comes to making friends, that's also something that many people think is quite difficult, because there is, I don't know if it's a prejudice or if it's a reality, that Catalan are known for being pretty introverted. They're like the Scandinavians of the South. But I have to admit that as a Scandinavian myself, I don't agree with that at all, but it's something that I've heard. So tell me, why are you as introverted as everyone says?
Well, it's true, and it also happens, it's not only from foreigners, it also happens among nationals. So people from Madrid say that Catalans are very introvert, and in Madrid it's completely different. They mix groups of friends, they are more like welcoming, and they say that Catalans are tend to be a little bit more shy. In my point of view, I have to kind of agree, because it's true, but obviously bad backgrounds do make a lot of a difference. So personally, I think I'm quite extrovert.
Yeah, and as a Scandinavian, I think that you are quite extrovert, and I think I am too.
Yeah, you too.
One thing that I really like here, there are always so many activities for different people, like for youngsters, for teenagers, for even the senior citizen. And I feel that I found different part of me here in Barcelona.
I play padel, and padel is a great way to build community. I know everyone in the neighborhood who plays padel.
I was speaking to Spanish people from another cities living here, and they told me, well, it's difficult to make friends here. I said, why? Because Catalan, they're so closed, and I was even more impressed. I can't say that I have friends, Spanish friends here. I have acquaintances, because having a kid helps you a lot, because you have to communicate with other parents, and I appreciate it greatly.
And now you're gonna laugh, Lea, but one of the things that struck me the most during the Barcelona International Community Day was that every time someone was approaching you, it was like, hola, hello, hola, ¿qué tal? Hi, bonjour. And it was like, what language do we need to speak with? Because it was like so many languages.
Yes, that is something that I definitely can recognize just from my life in general. Everyone speaks a mix of languages at all times.
When I came, I was a bit afraid, you can say, in a way that there will be people who would not understand my language. It will be a different culture. I won't be able to adjust. What will I do and all? But over the time, I felt that although these are the barriers which are real, but people are very welcoming over here. So even though I don't know their language, they try to make me feel comfortable.
When we first came here, just getting a mobile phone, finding someone that could help us in English was very difficult. Good news is that made me learn Spanish a little quicker, and now it's almost hard to find people who will speak to me in Spanish all the time.
The work situation, everyone told me it was terrible, but I was lucky. I found really good jobs, and I probably because I'm an English native, but I think Barcelona, compared to 15 years ago and now, it's gone through such an unbelievable change that now if you speak native English, it doesn't matter because everyone does.
I mean, the challenge, it was quite straightforward, I must say. We've done a lot of research. Yeah, we were surprised. Yeah, exactly. But the challenge is obviously, one, communication. Because you have to really, the language is a challenge because you have to, especially for first-time buyers from overseas, we don't speak the language. Unless you do the research, it's the straightforwardness is not there. So hopefully in the future, they'll be much more obvious.
One of the expectations that a lot of people have of Barcelona, unfortunately, is that it's a very, very unsafe city. There are a lot of stories and videos circulating online about people getting robbed in the streets. And then there's the occasional news article about people's jewelry and watches that get ripped off of them.
Exactly, that's the case. In fact, once a year, the Barcelona City Council does a survey of the people's perception of different things in the city, from cleanliness, security, tourism, language, several problematics. And according to the latest results, almost 1/3 of the people, of those who answered and live here in Barcelona, say that insecurity is their biggest worry at the moment.
Wow.
It's been changing in the last years, cleanliness, but recently it has become security.
Okay, so and one thing that we have to stress is that people express their perception.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't mean that Barcelona is necessarily more unsafe than it was a year ago. It just means that people's perception.
It has worsened compared to previous years, even though figures and data shared by authorities say that crime has lowered, but perception has grown. And in fact, at the Barcelona International Community Day, we had a mix of opinions. Some people that say they have felt this problematic, and others who say it's a very safe place.
When we moved here, one of our friends got robbed like 2 hours after landing in Barcelona, another one 1 week after, another 2 weeks after. Well, I was robbed like almost 1 year after moving here, like 9 months. So somebody stole my phone from my purse in a tram. So yeah, it happens.
I didn't have expectations, but I have experiences. I've had broken windows on my vehicle several times. I've had a knife put into my rear tire to rob us, and they got lucky. They said they're going to help us change the tire, and they stole my wife's telephone. But otherwise, I think it's a very safe community.
And because it's all about perception, locals, Barcelona International Community Day attendees, or even some of our readers get in touch with us saying that that this perception has grown on them, that they have seen a rise in crime, even though official figures contradict this perception. Some people have even written to us about their personal stories and how the event evolved. So it's kind of a hot topic at the moment.
It really is. And the next issue is, also a hot topic and a global issue. That's the topic of housing. And it's something that we have covered extensively both on the podcast and on Catalan news as a whole, because the reality is that finding housing in Barcelona, especially if it's long-term and at an accessible price, it's really, really hard. So I assume that it's also something that you talked about with people at the fair?
Well, when we were there at the Barcelona International Community Day, we had a mix of opinions as well, because some people who were suffering from this housing crisis and others told us, no, we just arrived, had problems with language, but then it was very forthcoming, and in a couple of months, they were already owners of a house.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's
different stories for everyone, basically.
Housing has been, the sector has not been very good for the expats basically, because right now it's very difficult to find a place like a home here. And I know that this was not the case like 3 or 4 years back.
I must say I was surprised by how straightforward it is. It's a very set process to purchase here compared to New Zealand and the UK, which is just, it's difficult, yeah.
I think maybe another point in there is you really need to make sure that you've got all the documents. It helped. Yeah, once it's there, it's pretty much, I mean, it took us, 2 months? 2 months, yeah.
We bought a place in Barcelona because we left the United States permanently, so we were in a more fortunate situation. But we do know a lot of friends who find it difficult to find a place. We have a friend who's on her 3rd apartment in 1 year, and that seems pretty normal for someone who's trying to figure out where they want to live. But it's a good experience to find out what neighborhood they want to live in. So they've lived in Gracia and Rambla and now Poblena.
Thanks to Lorcan, and thanks to you, Gerard, and thanks to all of the people who spoke with us. So it sounds like you had a lot of fun that day, and there was one person who was particularly nice, right?
Yeah, exactly. We had plenty of people who already knew us, but people who had been living here in Barcelona for years now, and especially Sonia from Indonesia, stole our heart.
To be honest, before I came here, I didn't know Catalonia exists. So it's nice because I get to know a little bit more, like when I got here, especially like with Catalan news.
Thanks to Sonia for the very nice feedback. And also remember that you can always get in touch with us at fillingthesync@acn.cat. And now it's time for the Catalan phrase of the week. This time you found something really special for me, Gerard.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of a song. It's part of the chorus of a very famous song here in in Catalonia, named Qualsevol nit pot sortir el sol, from singer-songwriter Jaume Sisa, who was born in Barcelona's Poble Sec neighborhood. And the chorus reads: "Oh, benvinguts, passeu, passeu, de les tristos en farem fum, a casa meva és casa vostra, sí que hi ha cases d'algú." And the part that we want more is "Oh, benvinguts, passeu, passeu."
Okay, so welcome, come in, come in.
Exactly.
Oh, benvinguts, passeu, passeu, de los tristos.
Well, I think that's a very, very fitting Catalan phrase. And that's all we have time for today. Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe to Filling the Sink wherever you get your podcast if you haven't already. Thanks again to everyone who spoke with us. Thanks to you, Gerard, and Lorcan too. And we'll be back again next Saturday with another episode of Filling the Sink. On behalf of the team here at Catalan News, I'm Lea Beliaeva, wishing you a great weekend. Fins aviat. Adeu.